Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with a new series, start of a new series. This is Black Ice Total War. We're playing as Germany. Part of the reason I'm playing as Germany is the gold standard. Going back to polls for Black Ice a long time ago, 70%, and that's Black Ice and Hearts of Iron 3, 70% of players play as Germany. Now, you could answer more than one thing, so there was more than 100%, so if you played as 3 countries, you would hit 3 countries. So most people play at some point as Germany. So to look at a mod or whatever, you look at Germany to see how well it's done, then other countries. That's the way I do it, just knowing that so much people speeches. Do you want to hear audio speeches the AI triggers? This is a really cool feature. No, because I don't want to get a copyright strike, because I don't know what the speeches are. I don't know if those speeches might be a Goebbels speech or a Hitler speech, and I don't want that going out over YouTube as propaganda or something. Well, it's like Black Ice, but it's not Black Ice, because I was looking at it in more depth. But this is the start of this, so we're going to take some time and do this, looking into this, both those of you on chat as well as later. Okay, Total War mod game guide. This mod, and I want to say, this is challenging Black Ice for possibly the best immersion mod that I've seen so far. Okay. Mod can now be played with both NATO and non-NATO counters, but NATO counters have been worked on more. Okay, so meaning if you want to use the non-NATO symbols, you can, but they've put the most effort into doing this. Okay, combined arms. In this mod, battalions are more specialized in a way that forces the player to design historic combined arms divisions, many types of units. I'm not necessarily going to read all of this, but let's see how much is interesting. Many types of units combined together will create the best divisions. To come to terms with this, you will need to think about battalion stats and modifiers, as well as synergies with other game mechanics, such as modified combat tactic chances based on division types. Okay, main frontline. Okay, light armor, hit points only plus. Okay, so we go back to the guide here. We can do artillery. Artillery is mainly needed to break fortification sieges, increase your firepower against soft targets. Larger pieces, medium and heavy artillery are very high attack modifiers against urban terrain and forts. Smaller artillery units, artillery and pack artillery, also pack much needed punch against fortifications, but not significantly smaller, but instead provide. Okay, this is not well written, sorry. Not that I would do better, because I don't always write well either, but it doesn't flow well. But instead provide more soft attack per production cost. Okay, you will careful, yeah, you can see this, you will careful need to contemplate how heavy pieces, like maybe this is written in German or something, and then did Google Translate heavy pieces you want to bring. Okay, best fort levels. Okay, so this is just talking about artillery. I have not gone through this whole guide yet. No, I've not looked at the Road to 56 mod. I know you did. I just haven't yet looked at it. I want to, but just not yet. In this mod, the bonus you get when your armor outclasses the enemy piercing is 25% org damage and 50% deflection of both HP and org damage. Your armor division should be focused on this bonus or rely on high hard values. Why hardness? Hardness determines the percentage of your time at force. Okay. Makes huge difference. In case 75% will only take half the damage. Okay. Supply and stacking. In this mod, every frontline battalion has a stacking multiplier that increases the supply penalty for the whole division. This makes extra battalions that much more costly and will limit your to about max 30 width. TLDR, no space marines, logistics companies play a vital role in countering The multiplier, you should use as many logistics companies you need, just one. Like in vanilla, if you plan on offensive with large armor divisions, you should attach 3 supply companies to them. Interesting. This also means you can modularly set how much logistics your templates need. Don't underestimate the need for up-to-date supply logistics text. It is a lot harsher than in vanilla, than used in vanilla. Okay, very good to know. Defense and breakthrough. Defense and breakthrough are used to protect your divisions from incoming attacks. When your division is defending a province, the defense stat is used to protect it. When the division is attacking, the breakthrough stat is used to protect it. Okay. Attacks that you are protected from deal 55% less damage. So if 100 attackers, 100 soft attack, for example, is applied to your division by the enemy, with your division is defending and has 60 defense, 60 of these attacks will deal 55% less damage, while 40 of them will deal full percent damage. Okay, again, clumsy, but I think I get their meaning. Tips and tricks. Okay, tips and tricks. To get the best results, the keyword is combined arms. You will need to utilize your airplanes in conjunction with your land forces to overwhelm the enemy. Attacking is hard. The combined arms dimension in your land units is even more important. Here is a short list what some battalions are more effective at providing: large artillery pieces, largest fort urban attack bonuses, some soft attack, smaller artillery pieces, some fort urban attack bonuses, largest soft attack. Okay, artillery minor attack bonuses, a negative organization. Tanks largest. Okay, I'm not going to read through all of that. I'm just to the point right now from reading all this. I'm going to look to try to make historically based division setups instead of trying to min-max them. So we'll see how well that works. Trade and economy. The scale of the economy has been increased a lot, so even small countries will trade in the global economy. You will have to trade a lot of resources and plan for the economy after your trade convoys are threatened. Chromium represents more a general rare material in this mod and not just chromium. This also applies to tungsten to some extent. Like the Dutch have fortified. Yes, it does look like the Dutch have fortified their border. I hadn't really looked at that yet. I doubt. Hello, Azad. It's good to see you. Those might be historical, but I doubt those were, because the Dutch were very smart in trying to fortify some things, but of course Arno probably knows the best. We'll see in a moment. Back to the guide. Okay, I guess that's it. I'm done reading. So we've looked at the guide here. What can we see here? 1 or 2. Well, that's a land forts. Okay, so 2, 1, 1 level. Okay, and this is also as much as a review as anything else of the start of this. Okay, what do I want to look at? Well, let's do the big thing. Here we go. Here is the national focus. It is a jumble. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's a jumble. So we have befriend Sweden hanging off the end here, a bunch of break the London Naval Treaty, push through on that. We get Operation Tannenbaum, or however you say that, invasion of Switzerland. Various Wunderwaffe. We see things like Reichswehr Hermann Göring, Reichsarbeitsdienst, the RAD. Organization tote, I noticed earlier. Expand the RAD. Expand Opal Works. We can see some of the basics starting up here. So a lot here, and I also, you can see a lot of like 30 day, 35, 56, 21, 42 days. So they've, not everything is equal, which I sort of like that. I haven't looked at any of the other national focuses. I did look a little bit here, but any of the other countries, so I don't know how well they are done in comparison. Let's take a quick look at some of the divisions that they're talking about. Hit the edit button. So you can see here that they're really trying to do the historical type thing, a medium artillery with 3 regular I guess battalions here with support companies. Presume you can go down a bit more. And we can look at early, don't know if they'll give us new templates, but light panzers, motorized artillery, motorized anti-tank, reconnaissance, that kind of thing. We can see, so logistics companies, extra logistics company. Okay, so that's how they're doing it. Because normally, and they may be able to change this, you very well may be able to change how this works, but normally on the support side you can only have one of a type, but you may be able to change this. But maybe they're just doing this by having small logistics companies, extra logistics companies, logistics, and motorized logistics to sort of stack all that up together. Different motorized division. Bergjaeger brigade, basically. Yeah, let's look at Border Watch. That's what this Grenzwatch unit is. Okay. Military police and 3 garrisons. Grenzwatch artillery. Okay, so Border Watch with artillery. Do they have railway artillery, do they? Well, let's see if I can. Is that what we were seeing here? No. Artillery battalions, motorized, heavy. Yes, I did hand out, I can hand out up to a total of 10 sort of VIP status. So I gave AZADs and IKB. IKB turned down being a moderator, if I remember correctly. So I gave him VIP status. A few other people got it. And so I'm going to carefully give out some more of that. It was support companies. Okay. Oh, railway artillery gun. Okay. Interesting, of course. Thanks for pointing this out. I hadn't even noticed this yet. So, wonder what that will do for the game. Interesting. So, let's look over at, gotta get used to different things. The tech trees. Okay, so we can see they've gone a bit different than Black Ice, but similar. Like I said in the sort of pre-thing, this to some degree was based off of the work of Black Ice, but they, as we can see here, they look like they've sort of combined these. So for whichever side you take, you get the central ones, it looks like. Again, I haven't played it yet. But you have basic factories, that, and then to split off and down this path. So that's what they've done for that. We can see here they've definitely gone into various radio type, breaking that path out. Yeah, no, this mod is looking good. Oh, you want to look a little bit more? We can go back to infantry division, just a standard. Thought we did that. Yeah, maybe you missed it. So we got an HQ in engineering, reconnaissance, maintenance, logistics, field hospital, medium artillery, 2 regulars, an anti-tank gun, and your standard 3x3 infantry brigades. Obviously, we could, see about adding other things to it. Let's go back to here so we can go through this. Again, I have not played this at all. So, and then this looks pretty standard tech. Up here, again, basically looking to be fairly standard operational type tactics. Gone and did a pretty good job, I would say, with the different plane types here. Got both float planes as well as sort of smaller naval, naval bomber, land-based naval bombers, different fighter types. Again, standard sort of that. Tactics trees. We can look at sometime maybe between episodes there, Arno. But we got a bunch of the different types of ships for Germany. Submarines. Now they don't have all of the little subtext for that Black Ice has that goes along with that. Not that that's a bad or a good thing. It's a different thing. All those subtexts, different improved hulls, improved engines, they add detail. But what this can do is, without adding all that detail, if they've done it right, and I haven't even played this game. I mean, I've just sort of looked at it like this a few hours ago. First, I played an early version of the mod out a long time ago, and I think there is a very short series that ended in a failure, because I was informed I played the wrong country at the time. I played, I think, Britain or something, and they hadn't done much with the tech trees. But if they've come in and, say, tried to get this model, the type 7A mid-range type submarine, and go in and try to, within the stat variables, try to replicate it right. This is just, instead of having a lot of little extra text, just go through and get the different types that Germany produced keyed into that. And again, looks to be at least mostly standard battle doctrine trees. Okay, tanks. Now, this to some degree, because it's immersion, is a nitpick I saw. But a couple of things, or one thing here particularly. This Steyr ADGZ should not be here. That is an Austrian armored car. Sort of interesting in that it has a driver facing each way, like some of these armored cars did too, that Germany had. But it was really very much of a drive either way kind of armored car. Figuring you want to get out of a problem, a dead end is as important as driving forward. Which call be auto and 1080p. For the stream, you mean? I'm sending the stream, I think, at the best, and I say that now, that I think it's at the best quality for Twitch. wants to have it in. I say that because I sort of messed up earlier today. Let me know if the quality isn't good for you. I do want to know that, because I messed up, and it may be set more for YouTube. Well, sorry people, I'm interrupting your YouTube show. Settings, output. I mean, yeah, I think I'm putting out the stuff that I can't change your. I have some very basic, well, video bit rate, encoder, audio bit rate that I'm putting this out, and I don't have any of the sort of 1080p. That the 1080p is my sort of standard use type setting, guys. So I hope. Yeah, we'll get there in a moment. IKB, I was just. Yeah, that is more of a Twitch thing. And I've learned recently the way most of these things work, live streaming kind of things, or any sort of streaming stuff, is that there are sort of main server farms somewhere, and then there are edge servers. So the main servers, I know for Twitch, is very US focused, but now a year and a half ago, when I was actually talking to some of the Twitch developers, this is both sitting and listening to them talk, but also talk to some of them. They're very US focused, but they were trying to get more and more out in the world. So like an edge server is like having a server in India or multiple places in India, so that instead of AZADs having to try to link to a US server, it's serving up a stream to an edge server in India, and AZADs, by going on it, would serve it off the local Indian edge server, and that's how they get their name, because they're the edge of the main sort of servers. So that's how I hope they're doing it for that setting. Yeah, and so I don't know. I don't have any control over the different settings, Arno. So I'm just streaming out with one thing, and Twitch is then doing what it thinks best. And I don't know what's limiting it, and I don't know for where. But again, this Steyr is the Austrian one that the German army never used. The Austrian army used some. I've only seen them used by some SS units, but I've never really seen them used in combat by SS units, these Steyrs. What would be a better vehicle if you're looking? Now, I notice that there's, in this game, and there's no need to be, difference between a heavy wheeled reconnaissance and a light wheeled reconnaissance. If you wanted to start with something up here, you might want to start with the 6-rad. 6-wheeled German one, which was definitely used by 1935. And then you go down here, and then down to the Puma, which is, this is a really sucky image. Sorry, people. Okay, and as you can see down here, you wanted to look at the bottom, you have some of these various heavy tanks. Here's the Mouse. So Tiger, the Low, some other, because that's your Tiger 2, some other sort of Tiger 2 like thing, and then your sort of super heavies. I was thinking that would be an E series, you know, E500 or whatever the hell, E50, which was to be the sort of Panther replacement. And looking in some detail, I did notice You have some sort of Martyr 1s here, and this is the half-track anti-aircraft gun here. Is sort of done as a conversion. I don't know. And again, this is another half-track. That's 51 or 251 17, and that's the 7, as opposed to because the Panzer II did not, to my knowledge, have a anti-aircraft variant for it. What I don't like here is the Panzer II Loesch needing to research it again, another anti-aircraft gun, but to get the Wasp self-propelled artillery piece, which was the standard German 105 millimeter self-propelled artillery gun. That was based on the Panzer II running gear. They did do a few of these sort of weird, if you notice the wheel style here and here, that was a limited production type trial. But they tried to do this Loesch, which is fine, but stupid to build. It was overly designed, overly developed. Obviously, it's super long to produce now. I don't know how long if we were in 42. But really, the Wasp should come off of the standard, should be here. Don't know what the FMC-36, that's the French tank, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, Germany did create a few self-propelled guns, but I don't know why that is supposedly the sub vehicle for this. So I'm disagreeing with what they're doing here. I know this is maybe in the realms of nitpicky, but the Stug has its own sort of tree here, though you do have the Stug 4. Basically, one of the Stug factories gets bombed in World War II, and they want more Stugs, so they start making Stugs out of Panzer IV holes. And so that to the end of that. So yeah, so I have some problems. I do like that they have the Czech, but the Czech needs requires technology control of Bohemia, so I presume that's an event-given stuff. So if we get that, then we get the Czech models. What's going on with the chat? I know I prefer multiple. I know it's just weird sometimes. Okay. Thanks, AZADS. Does help to have more people hosting. Yeah, could be small mistakes. I'm being nitpicky here. I will very much admit I'm being nitpicky here, and because there's two things we got to look at all of this. One, the stats. Okay, and stats are a comparative thing. How much difference between the short-barreled and the long-barreled Panzer IV tank, and that. So stats are important. That's what affects the game. But also important is our immersion. Yeah, it could just be a typo. This FM36. I don't know what the GW stands for. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's meaning some sort of conversion. Okay. Geschutzwagen FCM36, which is, I'm reading down here, enables. Yeah. So that's... Yeah, a conversion of the French vehicles. I'm taking that to being, if I'm reading everything correctly. And yeah, I could be wrong. But then we have here, now, again, I've only looked at it from this sort of level, but we have artillery, sort of medium artillery and heavy. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, and here's your railway gun, siege cannons. We got Bruno, Siegfried K, and Gustav. That looks like a big Gustav. So we have railway cannons there, IKB. Here, and different models. Now, yeah, probably the... Okay, what I do like is, with this whole thing, is that calibers aren't getting bigger. I hate's too strong. I dislike how they do that in good to hear. Now we don't know how well they work in game, is how they limit things. We'll see. But I don't like how standard hearts of iron. You know, you start out with 75 millimeter, then you move to 105 millimeter, then you move to, 150 millimeter, and you working through the tech tree is working to bigger calibers. Now here I'm seeing in my opinion, a mistake or a bad thing is now we have the 170 millimeter. I think that was around before this. Hey, thanks, Arno. I think that was around before this time. They didn't do a lot, but they did a fair number of 170 millimeters that are bigger, obviously, than the 150, smaller than the 210 millimeter guns. And I like to think of millimeters as opposed to centimeters. But, yeah. So, just on history lessons, and this first episode, of course, is a review of this mod. We will get into playing it, people, but I hope this is interesting. World War I German standard artillery piece was a 77 millimeter gun. The French was a 75 millimeter gun. By the time we're rolling around to World War II, German artillery light artillery is 75 millimeters. So which we see the improved mountain gun, because notice what this enables here, and it's the 75 millimeter mountain gun and the 150 millimeter light field. And I'm not saying you didn't have 105 millimeter in World War I, but the standard sort of caliber was the 77. The French was the fast 75, and that was. They called it Fast 75 because it had a pneumatic air recoil system. So when you fired the gun, the artillery piece more or less stayed in the same place, and the recoil was handled with the gun barrel moving within the carriage, so that you could load and shoot without having to replace the gun. Where these guns here, I think most all the Germans during the war, when they fired, the whole gun rocks back. And if the trail's dug in, it's slowly moving backwards. So you have to reset the gun in between shooting times. So it takes a long time to reshoot. Now, I did a long time ago and made a really nice post looking at German field artillery of World War II in the 105 millimeter range. And there was one level of improvement to the amount of powder that projects the round out of the gun. All of the other improvements of the gun were to either simplify manufacture and or to make the gun lighter and easier to maneuver. I'm pretty sure it's the 77 millimeter, Arno. If you want to take the time and look it up, I'd be happy to be corrected. But the 77. And I could get my book here. Why don't I just? I have a library. I can look it up. Here. I have a few really good books. Sorry if you're not hearing well, because I'm walking around my room over to my bookshelf and back. One book covers all fighting vehicles that Germany mounted a gun on, including captured vehicles, if they gave it a designation. Another book includes all German weapons that weren't mounted on vehicles, and that's Weapons of the Third Reich. My standard reference library. Okay. You see, right, the 75 millimeter field cannon 16 Neuart is a modernized version of the World War I gun, new barrel on the 7.7 centimeter flat cannon 16 carriage. So that's what they did, is they took all of Germany, and that was in service from 1934. So Germany rebarreled all of their old surplus 77 millimeter flat cannon or field cannons, 16s. So that's where I'm getting that information from. And so they continue to use those guns, but in a no problem, in a 75 millimeter recalibrated system. So the main changes here, and I don't know, haven't looked into what these guns, so the main changes here would be either greater mobility or cheaper production as time goes on, is what these historically looked at and how they varied. Because otherwise, and like I say, there was one stage of improved power, which improved the range of the 105. And I just looked at the 105 to see how it changed. And there was a late war, basically very late 44, 45 Czech design out of the Brno arsenal, that when you go to fire the gun, the wheels come off the ground and the legs sort of spread out so that they were in a cross shape, so that the wheels were entirely off the ground, because they would raise up off the ground, and you would sort of, instead of having two trails that would separate, it would sort of go out into like a four legs that would lay flat on the ground. So it was a very, very stable kind of gun. Okay, let me just see what you're thinking of. Okay, Turkish 75. Okay. Stock gun from Krupp could be supplied to customers on short notice with minor. Okay, and you're very right that it exists, and I didn't specifically know about this gun, but it does sort of kind of look like it's a export caliber or setup gun from reading that. And no, I am not an expert on all models of Krupp guns. And okay, it was used by the German Empire, it says here, but a lot of export. If at the beginning, or no, when they do the flashbacks in the movie Casablanca, starring Humphrey Bogart, and Ingmar Bergman, he refers to hearing the German 77s as they're getting closer to France or something like that, and that is the World War I caliber. So yes, and they have various flak guns. So this is, I mean, again, I'm having minor problems with some of things here. Not so much in artillery here, but they're doing pretty good. We can see the path here. Don't know how good of an anti-tank gun that may or may not be. Now here I will go, here's another problem I'm having. This is a Flak 41. What about the Flak 18? People, the Flak 18? That's like way back here. I'm not sure the date, but maybe even 36 or before. I'm not sure if the Flak 41 was the because there were two basic guns that had 88 millimeter dimensions, and I say that diameter shells that had two different amounts of powder behind them. They upped it, the initial upping, which I think was the Flak 41, but maybe it was a later model, to push it higher into the air to get bombers, and that's what becomes this Pak 43 gun. This is also, which talks about the difference between this Tiger gun and this Tiger gun. This is the you know, the same 88 millimeter gun that you see on the, you know, the standard that was used in 1940 during the invasion of France. This is the later up-powered 88 millimeter gun. Okay, and we can look here. Now, they've done a nice job on the images, keeping them similar. Though I do have, this is also really nitpicky of me, but they need to put a gorget, however you want to pronounce it, on this field gendarmerie. That would be, that's sort of a little metal breastplate is what it sort of represents. So it's on a chain, and it's a little sort of goes around your neck, and it's like a little piece of metal that's there that German military police continue to use. I don't know if they use it to this day. Okay, Azad, sorry to hear that. I will be streaming tomorrow on YouTube. If you don't make it back today, you could try it tomorrow on YouTube, which probably gets you better connection. But that would be a good way to sort of better to show up your military police would be a, because otherwise I really like, because that's like a reconnaissance guy, Red Cross with helmets, you just sort of generic kind of supply kind of things. But that would be just sort of cool, would be a nice addition. That's just me being picky, not really doing the wrong thing. And so we see a similar sort, though not quite as complex, tech tree for things here. Improved garrisons. I don't like the garrison equipment thing, because to me garrison equipment is just outdated regular equipment. At least that's mostly what I think of it as. So if you don't have a lot of outdated or captured garrison equipment, you use new stuff. One, again, sort of nitpicky thing here is, when I first saw it, I didn't realize the kukri was here, from the, you know, the Gurkha knife. First thought it was the German colonial hat, but they should go with a German colonial hat that was used in World War I style without the kukri, just to sort of do German immersion for jungle warfare equipment. But otherwise looking pretty good. I like the sand helmet, you know, pith helmet, German style pith helmet, and that is the German style one. So pretty good here. Here you move from, again, a Steyr truck. Those are Austrian. I would do a Krupp, little Krupp. The Potes, I don't know how you pronounce it, read all these things. That's the little sort of small 6-axle. That's not an axle, that's just a spare tire there. And then you have the Opel type truck, and unarmored half tracks, armored half tracks. Yeah, those are okay. So we've looked through all of the techs. We're going to get through diplomacy. That's pretty standard. They've gone to a nice sort of drawn image. A little hard to distinguish between those two. This is just military, a little bit of green. This, I can quickly see that this is a land fort and that's a coastal fort. That's sort of hard to read as a naval base, but looks good. Those are buildings, construction. Obviously, we saw all the equipment in the tech tree that you would research. Trades, well, we need lots of oil and rubber and some chromium. And we have down here so far address the Hitlerjugend, address the workers at the Siemens factory, address the Reichstag on the Sudeten crisis, declare war on Poland, address the Reichstag on the fall of France. So we do have some public speaking stuff that they've gone in and done. There's maybe a bunch more stuff that's just not showing up yet. Break the London Naval Treaty. Okay, so I know this is going long, but I sort of wanted to cover all of that. So now that we've done that, let's come over here, do some of my sort of standard. We're going to go with Dispersed Factories. I hope that's a good choice in this. Mod, We want to do excavation. Let's do mechanical computing. Let's look over here. Okay, looks like we're, except for that, mostly up to date. So let's look over here at doctrines. Yeah, let's start pushing down through that. Aircraft, 36. Well, let's see if we can get a better fighter. Let's do seaplanes. You know how much I like this. I think we're going to wait and do the Ju-87, the Stuka, instead of trying to go down this path. Don't know if we're going to do that. Let's take a look. Subs. Long range type 9. Yeah, let's do that. Let's see about getting that researched. And well, yeah, heavy fighter or Stuka. It just 37. Okay, we could do that. We could do the 36. I just don't really want to get out ahead of things. Okay, we have more. We're going to produce more civilian factories. That is my standard in 1936. Now it looks like we've more or less already remilitarized the Rhineland. Okay, and well, what equipment do we need? Doesn't look like we have a deficit on anything, but since we're, well, okay, uniforms, we could do some more uniforms. I see horses are a thing too. Obviously not something that we need to research. What's new here? Oh, our new bomber type. Well, instead of, let's add to what we're already building here. Okay, well that's sort of maxed out. Now let's go times 5 and we'll do that. Trench coat, helmet, puttees. Trying to do things that won't cost us too much stuff that we have to import. Well, let's do, I guess it's more horse equipment, but takes a little metal than horses. Yeah, we already have to, no, okay. Oh, steel's already an issue. Okay, well. These, we don't have any supplies. Okay, so, yeah, let's. Well, I don't know. It's going to cost us a lot of those factories. Okay, trade. So we need oil. 48 Romania, Kingdom of Romania. Let's see if we can do that. Who do we want to trade for rubber with? Who will help us the most? Belgium, because we're going to invade and take Belgium. If we can get rubber directly from them and have them build up their factories, we'll get those factories when we conquer them. French Indochina will go to their steel. Okay, I'll chromium. Let's get to, oh, they're doing it in segments of 6. How interesting. How interesting. Okay. Well, let's do 3 of those. Interesting. What's up in there? Do I have any AA being built? That's a good question. I don't know that I do. That would be a good thing. Let's do that. And see, right now we just don't have any of this steel, but we'll get that going soon. Now, let's look here. National focuses. Okay, I guess Rhineland, we sort of want to do that, even though we can build factories there. But I did notice here when I was looking earlier, we have Goring's 4-year plan. A lot of things gets developed from that. And then we have autarky, which does some research bonuses. But here we can see Hermann Goering Works, steel refineries and additional steel. DEA. Looking at what this is, and I have not heard, quite honestly, I'll be quite honest, I've not heard the term DEA. And I clicked on this when I looked at this. Gauge National Spirit DEA. Deutsches, okay, this is what it's, Deutsches Erdöl AG for DEA. Okay. Where I know what I think is basically the same thing as BRA-BAG, B-R-A-B-A-G, which was my understanding, because this is German Erdöl AG, which I think was one of the companies that was under the BRA-BAG, which is another anachronism. Not an acronym, for the synthetic research thing. So it's basically the same thing, but going down with a different sort of initial thing. Okay, requires Wehrmacht. Oh no, this one requires 4-year plan. Okay. So we're going to start with the Rhineland. Get that going. Now, I guess we'll up our steel too. Because we're already doing a lot of that. Sweden. Yeah, that'll be good. So I'm going to leave those factories idle for the moment until we figure out what's going on. No divisions training. Well, let's and a Panzer division. Okay. We'll set, oh, I guess it's this. All right, we'll set 1 division here. This is sort of why I'm doing 2 locations. 1 in the east. You guys, no, come on over here. And you sort of centrally located up here so we can find you. Okay. And outdated equipment in production, yeah, for the moment we just, well, what is the outdated equipment? Subs, yes, we know subs in the ships, which at least the outdated subs are partially completed, as well as the ships are partially completed. Okay, and we're going to end the episode, not the stream, guys. You just hang loose out there. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And I'd love to hear your comments so far, going over his basic review of the sort of tech trees and national focuses and things for Total War, for Hearts of Iron 4. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.